It's your weekly breakaway for fun conversations on pro cycling and so much more. Join us as we go beyond the slipstream. I'm Matt Harper, and together with my brother Justin, we'll do deep-ish dives on bike races, movies, bands, and all manner of shiny pop cultural objects. Oh, and did I mention bike races? We're kind of obsessed. Allez!
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Slipstream. I'm Matt and this is my brother Justin, and today in our first two segments we'll have a full review of the first monument race of the season, Milan-Sanremo. We'll review the first edition of the women's race in 20 years, followed by the 116th running of the men's edition. And then in our final segment we're diving deep down into the rabbit hole that is the Danny Carey Pneuma video, the YouTube sensation that launched 1,000 reaction videos. And of course, we'll take this episode across the finish line of the Via Roma with another ride in the Broom Wagon. Ale! Please note, this segment will contain spoilers. If you have not watched the finish of the race and want to remain unspoiled, please jump ahead to segment 2. The first edition of the modern era of the women's Milan-Sanremo concluded in as easily predictable a way as was possible in the era of SD Works dominance. But that didn't mean it was without its charms. Justin, what stood out to you?
Elisa Longoborghini. I thought it was just awesome, valiant effort to try to take the win and steal it away from what ended up being a very obvious Lorena Wiebes, sprint to the finish. But I loved what she had to say after the race, that next year they won't catch her. So
yes.
Thank you. Was really super rooting for her to make it the whole way, but it just wasn't meant to be.
In the tricolor too, how sweet it would have been. They caught her with 50 meters to go. 50 meters to go, so close.
In reality, you can't have asked for a better, group of riders to be competing for most of the day. I mean, pretty much everybody that you could want to be there was there, and it was a who's who of the pro peloton. I mean, it seemed like every team had their superstar in tow, if not 2 superstars or 3 superstars in the case of the world champions team over at SD Works. But talk about just a really great rendition of the race. Good camera work. Loved that drone shot. But,
oh my God, the drone! Wait, let's save that. Let's start with SD Works and give them their due.
Okay.
I gotta say, as much as Lana Kopecky would have loved to win that race as the world champion, the fact of the matter is that race at that length for the women's peloton, that's a sprint finish race.
Yep. And
everybody knows it. And if it's a sprint finish race and you're a member of SD Works, there's one person that the team is getting behind, and that's Lorena Wiebes. So Lana Kopecky, there was a great shot, kind of pulling back from in front of the peloton as they were coming across the finish line, and you can just see Kopecky laid back, just dropping back into what she ended up in 10th, right? And she's just got a smile on her face, yep, I did it, I did my thing, and now the team's gonna win. And you got to hand it to them. And you got to hand it to Blanca Vosch for just drilling it, with a couple of K to go. I mean, they executed it. There's a reason why they've gotten so many GD wins in the past couple of years.
I mean, and I really do believe that if the course of the race had played out differently, Lana Kopecky's more in position to win or answering an attack like ELB put out there, I don't doubt that they would have rode for her. But I think that in the inevitability of where it ended up, of course, you have to go with, one of the best sprinters in women's racing. I mean, she's a beast. You have to give her due. I mean, she just is a, giant winning machine.
Well, it's interesting, and this will play into something that I'll probably end up talking about in our next segment. But Vibis is just a singular talent when it comes to sprinting. I mean, we were talking about how this is win number 98 for her. 98. She's not that old. 98 wins is an absurd amount of wins. And she's walking the walk, and absolutely deserves the win. But I just lost my train of thought. Wait, I forgot what I was going to say about
Lorena Vivas, almost at 100 wins.
No, it was something before that. Damn it, I forgot about it. Well, let's also give our due to second and third. I was kind of happy with second and third. I mean, God darn Marianne Vos, like at 38 years of age or whatever, just still out there, just like mixing it up. And I mean, the two of them were way ahead of everybody else basically in that sprint. I mean, she was only about a bike length back.
And, let's not forget that Vos took a very wily win from Lorena Wiebes just last year, when she started celebrating too early, but she could celebrate as early as she wanted today because she was in front of Vos.
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say this is like kind of a point that I'll make in our second segment, but Vibis is this like singular sprinting talent, and she's like generational, and it in the same way that Vanderpoel is like a generational one-day racing talent. You know what I mean? Like that is his lane, and the thing that separates Pog is that he can kind of achieve across. Like Vanderpoel's not out there winning TTs. Vanderpoel's not out there winning week-long stage races. Vanderpoel's not out there winning Grand Tours. But when it comes to the biggest one-day races in the world, that motherfucker shows up. Anyway, that's for the next one. But it's the same with Lorena Vibas. When it comes to sprinting, like if it is flat ass like sprinting, I mean she had the European Champions jersey on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like so.
And look, dude, look, you couldn't.
She's like one of the all-time greats.
A more talented group of riders. Every big rider in the world was there. All right, period.
Yeah. And
it again. To me, it was the last, especially the last like 12K were just give it to me like that all the time.
Utter confidence. You remember when there was like, it was kind of whittled down to like a smaller group for a little while there, and then like it all kind of came back together. But for a while, it was looking like that little select group in the front was going to stay away. There was like 12 or 15 riders in it. And there was three. Remember, we were counting them off, and there was 3 SD Works. No other team had 3, but they had 3, and they all looked just like comfortable as can be. Blanca Voss is out on the front, just like keeping the tempo, and the other 2 were just hanging back.
I think the only other team, I don't know. I think there were 2 teams that kept a good group of riders the whole time. Little Trek was very much there. They were protecting Elisa Balsamo very, very well. She was in the mix all the way up until the end, and I believe that she still ended up with a top 10. So, hold on, I had it pulled up. Yeah, she took 7th. So, I think that they did a really good job. The other team that I thought that did a really good job was Canyon SRAM. Chloe Diger, baby.
Coming in 7th.
6th place.
Or 6th, yeah. And
her team,
for sure.
Her team was there with Cassia and I can't think of what that other girl's name is.
The Swiss girl that I love,
yes.
her. Cecily Uttrup Ludwig.
Yes. Thank you. So they were, both of those teams, I think, did a better job. I definitely think that they did a better job than UAE. I don't think that she had enough riders around her most of the day because I don't know who the French champion is, but she's on FDJ with
Pauline Ferrand.
Yeah,
that's
no. That's Visma, and they had a couple of riders always in the mix.
Juliette Labousse.
Yeah, Juliette Labousse.
On Vollering's FDJ team. So like it was exciting, man. There were so many riders up there. I love seeing Noemi Rug slide in for the third place.
Yep. She's super strong.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Swiss champ. Kat Ferguson almost came to grief. They never went back and showed what exactly happened with her, but she still managed to top 20. I think she slid in 18th or something like that.
She was in the mix all day. Who
knows what would have happened with her if had that not happened? I'm thinking top 10.
I also think that she was hanging in the back way too much. I think that she could have been better positioned for the latter part of the especially the last 10K. I think that, she was at a disservice being at the back of that group pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. But, it's like her first big race with the big girls. So, she can be forgiven. She's got a long career. And God dang, Eliza, man,
I know, dude.
What a bold move. She knew she wasn't going to win the sprint. There's no chance she's winning that sprint with Marianne Vos and Lorena Vivas. That's not happening. She knows it. She's got one chance and one chance only. She took it with panache. Maybe she went just 15 seconds too early. Was it 15 seconds too early? Had she waited another 15 seconds? Did she win that race? Who knows? But
I think if she'd have stayed away for another 50 to 100K, she might have actually made it the whole way. If she hadn't been caught, I think if she had another, 100 meters before, to make it, she
150. 50. Yeah. It was 50. She was at 50 when they caught her. But class, she shouted out Vibus in her post race.
Yep.
She had the great comment about that they're not going to catch her next year. She's great. She's great. So I love that woman. And I'll give some props to Damie for coming and giving Lorena Vivas a nice big hug there. I didn't see any exchange of niceties between her and Lotta, but
Wait. Who are you talking about? Between Weebus and Lotta?
No, between Damie and Lotta.
Oh, okay,
Damie came over, gave Lorena Vivas a little congratulations hug, and kind of fucked off.
Yeah.
Lotta was right there, at that whole period of time. She was hanging out right next to her, but I didn't see any kind of exchange. Exchange between those two. But well, let's take a quick second, and I guess we can lead off with this on the men's side here when we get to it in a second. But how gosh darn beautiful is this bike race?
It's especially at the end of it, those descents coming off of what's the one there at 25K? Not the Poggio, but the
Cipressa.
The Cipressa, man, just all of the ins and outs. I love the fact that they don't let the camera bikes go down with them, in the group on the descent.
Yeah.
You get it's all those nice big wide shots and, those great big deep turns.
Incredible helicopter shots. And then they threw us that drone shot. Best drone shot we've seen, I think, in a bike race because of its length. That thing
have been clear. The camera didn't seem to be of that great a quality, but
I will give you that. Yes,
I've seen much better, especially in the mountain biking, in the cyclocross stuff. I've seen much better cameras.
100%.
For it being such a prestige race, it's really, you guys couldn't have nailed a better drone. But whoever was flying said drone was on point.
For sure.
The way that they were coming in and out of the turns and following them down, it was really, really good. And I thought it was better in the women's race than it was in the men's.
I agree. It's interesting though. In a way, it's like a more dialed in version of what the helicopters are doing, because like the helicopters kind of like they sort of they're not especially during the bendy parts. They're not following the ride exactly. They're kind of cutting a line across it, but they turn so that like you're constantly getting that angle on the. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's sort of what they were doing with the drone. Like the drone would be coming behind them, and then they would go into the hard right hairpin, and the drone would like hang back and come back around. You know what I mean? Like it would be above them and then back. Yeah, super cool. Well, let's put a pin in it there, because we're not going to be going very far away for our segment 2 when we get into the men's race. Please stay with us. Please note, this segment will contain spoilers. If you have not watched the finish of the men's race and wish to remain unspoiled, please jump ahead to segment 3. Milan-Sanremo, the first big monument race of the season, has proven to be quite the puzzle for one Tadej Pogačar, the possible GOAT of men's cycling, who seemed like he won anything he put his mind to last year, and also this year so far. And while his all-around capabilities are, in a word, unparalleled in the modern era, the man who beat him on the Via Roma this afternoon is also a generational talent who will no doubt go down as deeply in the annals of one-day racing as Pog will as an all-rounder. Time and time again, MVDP rises to the occasion. Justin, do you have anything to say about this man that hasn't been said already?
I believe that you actually said it, but he needs a better celebration at the line.
Thank you. Yes, always with the hands. I can't believe I just won the race. I never win bike races except for 12 times a year. Yeah, come up with something better. Well, that's fine. You know what? I meant to mention this in our last segment too. Somebody made a comment about Lorena Vibas and her finishing line celebrations, because she had that one maybe a month ago where she was where she went like that, at the finish she did some social media pose or whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, when she came across with her finish, she went with the classic style. I think she just kind of threw her arms up, as memory serves. But yeah, come on, Van der Poel, come up with something better. It's always the I don't believe it.
Yeah. It was I think it was a very interesting race, especially from what it obviously could end up being anytime Pogačar is in the mix. I thought just the three of them taking it to the end and staying away made it much more interesting than either a 1 and 2 or just a solo breakaway from Tadej. So Van der Poel's a stud, man. The guy can really, really race, and he seemed super strong because every time Pogačar attacked, he was right there. He never seemed phased the entire time. Where Ghana got dropped multiple times and had to come back, and Van der Poel was just hanging with Tadej's shit the whole time.
I mean, it speaks to the parkour. I mean, it's just not a steep enough hill. It just isn't. Mathieu van der Poel beats Tadej Pogačar in sprints in big races. That's just a fact. He did the same thing to him in RVV 2 years ago. Remember that? And
yep.
Pogačar ended up fourth. Van der Poel is he's a better sprinter. He's cagier. He's a one day. He's a hard guy, man. You know what I'm saying? He's a straight up Dutchman. He's wily. You're not going to beat him in these kind of things. And it's almost to the point where it's another layer has just been added to this conundrum for Pogačar to win this race. It's is there a way? Is Milan-Sanremo an impossible race for Tadej Pogačar to win? Is it impossible? How did Eddie Merckx do it? How did Eddie Merckx do it all those times?
Multiple times.
He won it 6. Yeah. Merckx won it 6 times or something like that. I mean, so how?
It's a different era.
I guess
it's just
I mean, what could Pogacar have done?
Nothing. I mean, he did everything. He did what he could do. The only thing that he could maybe do, and I don't know how it's possible, is somehow launch a 100-kilometer, just blow off the front. Try
but
to put
it's too flat.
Minutes. I know, that's what I mean. But that's it. It's the only thing he can do.
Well, no, it's not. It's not the only thing he can do. It's the only thing he hasn't tried.
Yeah.
You still might not be able to do that.
A team time trial breakaway with UAE Team Emirates with just like Brandon McNulty, like every engine they've got.
I got it. Exactly. I got it. This is what they do. The Saudi, the Emirati royal family gets $1 billion together, and they go out and they just buy a team. They buy Filippo Ganna, right? They buy Tobias Foss. They buy every great time trialist in the world, and they put him in there with Tadej Pogacar. And when the flag goes down, they take off a team time trial with Pog sitting there.
230 kilometers, just straight gas the whole way. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there is a way for him. I don't know if there's a way for him to win it outside of.
It's kind of wild. In a way, I love that. I kind of love that because it's like, yeah, it leaves something. There's something like it leaves an open. If he goes for the rest of his career and he just can never crack this nut, then there's an opening for another rider. Maybe it's 80 years in the future, but like some other guy comes along that does manage to win all 3 Grand Tours in a year, that does manage to hold,
all the monuments.
I mean, and even then there's going to be then somebody's going to come along in 150 years and they're going to win all 5 of them in the same year.
So is there ever a chance that Tadej Pogacar is just like, I'm not going after Grand Tours this year. I'm only going after monuments, and builds up leg strength and builds himself up
and tries to win them all.
Tries to be a sprinter.
Pog transforms himself into a sprinter.
Just for a year.
Okay, yeah. So he goes. So in 2025, he wins the Vuelta. So he gets his triple crown of Grand Tours. You know what I'm saying? So that's a giant box checked. I've won all 3 Grand Tours. I'm part of that club now. And he says, I have to win these 2 other monuments. I need to win everything, and so I'm done with Grand Tours. I'm now building leg strength and I'm becoming a sprinter. I've got a good 7 years left in my career. I already got the Grand Tours. I already got the World Championship. I already got Montreal and Quebec. Yeah. I haven't gotten the Maryland Cycling Classic, but after I get Paris-Roubaix and Milan-Sanremo, I'm going after Maryland. No, I'm going after the Colorado. I'm going after Colorado in 20.
Okay, hold on, just real quick. Speaking of Paris-Roubaix, could he, is this the same thing where the only way he's going to be able to beat one of these races like this is to somehow bust out and win it off of a breakaway?
Because it has to be.
Because
I'm telling you right now, he will never beat Mathieu Van Der Poel at Paris-Roubaix.
No, that's what I don't think I don't think he would be top 5. That's a different animal, man. They end in that velodrome.
That's a hot take.
Everybody wants to see. Everybody's talking about him, and of course, UAE has come out and said that he's not going to ride Paris-Roubaix. But when you see him race a race like this, all right, and then you say, okay, can he win another race like Paris-Roubaix that is a grueling, hellish.
He's got to bulk up. It's got to be Tadej Part 2. He's got to get bulked up.
I don't know that even Tadej is strong enough to somehow get to the end of that race with enough juice to beat the people he would have to beat in that race. You know what I mean? It's a different animal. The cobbles are different. You have so many cobble sector. It's so much more strain on the body.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. Besides Tim Wellens, who on that team? And let's not forget, we just did a whole segment about what a badass team that is. Who on that team besides Tim Wellens would serve as a good domestique for him at Paris-Roubaix? Because I'm not thinking of anybody. Del Toro, no. Ayuso, no. Yates, no. Narvaez, maybe, but probably no. Who?
Man, that is
Milano? No, absolutely not.
Well, because he lost Soler, and Soler, you might have said, could.
Yeah, maybe Soler. I could see Soler doing something early.
Oh, man, I don't know, man. That's again, it makes you wonder: are some of these races unattainable for him without them training? And okay, let's think about it like this too: is the team willing to forego giant races to try to help him? Do this. You know what I mean? Is that something that the team would be willing to get behind? I mean, obviously, you have a bunch of other GC guys. You have people that could go ride Grand Tours.
Of course, forego is not the word. Like, would they be willing to forego getting the quote unquote easy wins with Tade doing the Grand Tours? I mean, at the end of the day, well, I don't even know if this is let me say this, for most teams, but possibly not for UAE. The Tour de France is the only thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the race. That is it eclipses all of the other races combined, in a certain sense, when you talk about the global impact and the dollars, and so,
okay,
the vast majority of the teams out there, if your choice is, do I send this ringer to the Tour de France again and again and again, or do I cater to his needs to be able to collect all of these prizes and check all these boxes? I don't know. Most of these companies go ahead and make the business decision.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. All right, so you asked. Here's the answer. Florian Vermeersch, you would take him. Okay, you would take Pavel Sivakov.
Vermeersch got second a couple of years ago. That same year that what's his name won.
You'd take Pavel
Sivakov.
Yep, probably Niels Pollitt.
Yeah.
Right.
McNulty.
Maybe one. I don't know, man. The Oliveira brothers are also very good.
Wait, so who do we have? So we got Pogačar, Wellens, McNulty, Vermeersch, Pollitt. That's 5. They would probably have 6 or 7. Who else?
I mean, you could, possibly Antonio Morgado.
I'd say maybe Narvaez,
Mikel Berg, or Jan Christian. Those are 2 solid riders on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely not Almeida. It's definitely not Ayuso. It's definitely not Del Toro. It's
the question is
Narvaez. It's Vermeersch. It's Vermeersch. It is Marc Soler. Sorry, I think we're getting it mixed up. I think it's Tim Wellens that went over, and it is Marc Soler. So
what's Marc Soler?
That's still on the team. I was thinking the Marc Solers who went over to.
No, he's on. Soler's definitely on the team.
So it's probably, to me, if you're building a team for one of these races like that, probably Vermeersch, Sivakov, Soler, Niels Pollitt, Pogačar, and take your pick of
Narvaez.
Yeah.
All right, so. Even so, though, there's nothing climby about that race at all. So
he has.
I think he would. It would take a lot of luck. It would take crashes out.
Yeah.
And Wout van Aert's not on form, and whatever. So he somehow hangs with like a front group of 6 riders, and everybody in that group is like not a top tier. It's like a Pidcock. It's like a
I just think I think it's going to be really tough. I think it's going to be really tough for him to win.
It's like a Pidcock. It's like a Matteo Jorgensen. It's like guys that he can definitely beat.
It's not,
somehow there's no Van der Poel in there. Somehow there's no, I don't know.
It's not.
Van der Poel.
I know. It's just tough. That's what I'm saying. I don't like these races that, the ones that he's won that don't suit him are still, he's been beat in. I mean, you look at Flanders and you look at, I can't think.
But Flanders has gotten tons of climbs. I mean, that's how he was able to win that, because it's got all that climbing.
Yeah.
Liège climbs.
Yeah.
Lombardia climbs.
So
these other two, they don't have climbs.
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, we need to wrap it up. But I do want to just say, though, that like as these races go, couple things. Number one, 2025, the year of Italian disappointment, because we didn't even talk about Pipo Ganna in this race, and the poor guy, he was hanging in there and ended up getting second place. I mean, I guess he improved one. He got third a couple of years ago, so now he's at the second. But poor guy, man. Like, gosh, I really wanted him to win so bad, but there was no way it was happening.
It's so hard for him to keep up with the climbs. And look, he made a valiant effort. And, they were saying that he was 22 seconds back at one point. I think that's freaking crazy. I don't think that he was ever more than about 15 seconds back. But you want to talk about a valiant effort to come from a very, very distant third between those two in the last 1.8K or something like that.
Hell yeah.
And then
the fact
be able
that
to
beat
the best rider.
Amazing.
He beat the best rider in the world straight up in a sprint. And, the only person that could beat him is the guy that is probably the best one-day racer of the age. So, you know what I mean? Chapo to Pipo, because he has no reason to feel disappointed. All right. He rode
for sure
a great race for a guy that's his size. I mean, come on, man. You would not have expected him to hang there all the way to the end, and he was right there.
Absolutely. So, and then this is the last thing I'm going to say about it. 2 very exciting races. I'm happy to have watched both of those races. I enjoyed them. They were exciting. There was drama. And 2 really winners. Okay, great. Like, all right. Like, I so would have rather have seen any one of about 25 other people win either of those races than the 2 people who won. But they were damned exciting.
They were.
So, all right, we'll leave it there and be back in just a few.
Don't miss the Team Bus, our weekly companion podcast to the main Beyond the Slipstream show. Our domestique, if you will, dropping every Wednesday in your usual podcast feed.
The Vic Firth Drumstick Manufacturing Company had no knowing in March 2020 when they released a promotional video for their drumsticks featuring Danny Carey, the god-tier drummer for the legendary experimental heavy metal group Tool, that they were creating a cultural behemoth that would launch 1,000 reaction videos and take on a life of itself. But that is exactly what's happened in the years since, with hundreds of YouTubers publishing reactions across a broad spectrum of channels. Drummers, drum teachers, music teachers, composers, cultural critics, movie critics. It seems that folks from all walk of life and all musical genres have been touched by this monumental performance. So today we're going to discuss our reactions to the original video and the cultural phenomenon surrounding it. Justin, tell me what you thought after your first viewing of the original video.
All right. So I had seen it before, but I had not really processed it the way that I processed it this week as I deep dive. And I will be completely honest that the first go through, I didn't realize how absolutely cool it was, it took a number of viewings of it in and of itself, the video itself, over and over again before I even got into any kind of reaction videos of it. But it took a number of listens and watches for me to really catch how nuanced and musical, I will say, the drum work in this song, was. And as someone that has aspired for the better part of 40 years to wish that I could play drums even passively, watching this guy, play this song, it's just transcendent in a way that is hard for me to describe, because I truly do understand how unique and special, this person is, and how musical they are. And it's just it's an amazing performance that it leaves me speechless now as I watch it.
I'm so glad to see you have that reaction to it, for sure, because I feel exactly the same way. It's completely transcendent. Let's set it up a little bit for folks who haven't seen it. Basically, it's just it's a concert performance of this song called Pneuma by Tool. But the company set up a bunch of cameras surrounding the drum set, and this particular video, you don't see any of the other band at all. It's 100% Danny Carey behind the drum kit. Right off the bat, the moment you see it, it's already iconic, because he's wearing a complete Boston Celtics Larry Bird uniform. So he's wearing like the tank top and shorts from the Boston Celtics. And when they cut to the pedal shots, he's got like the wrestling shoes on. He's got those cool little high top wrestling shoes. So it's got like this really cool look to it. It's like these great camera angles and everything.
Is it not a Danny Carey jersey? Does it not have his last name on the back?
Actually, yeah, I think it says Carey on the back. You're right. Yeah. And that's a thing of his. I think he when they go to Cleveland, he gets a plays in it and stuff like that. That's like one of his hallmarks or whatever. So it's got this great look to it, and this song is like a kind of a avant-garde song, but it's also like completely rocks out at different parts of it. I'll describe the song a little bit. It's like, you put it really well. It's musical. So he's got these like timbale drums that are tuned. Not only are they tuned to different pitches, but he can make different pitches on the same drum by moving where he's playing on the drum head. And the precision that he plays with is like one of the things that's like so incredible about it. Like he's doing these little
yes.
He's like moving around on the drum head. It's like getting all these different pitches. The timing is so perfect. I mean, it's like a machine. And how so utterly perfect he is, so utterly on time he is. And the song, it's got kind of like verse chorus sort of structure initially after a little intro thing, but in the middle of the song, it gets into this drum solo part. I mean, the guitar is doing cool stuff as well, but it starts so simply. He's doing these like rim shots, and he's doing what do they call it, like split timing or something. Like he's got one time signature going on one hand, and he's got a different time signature going on the other hand. And
that's a Tool thing. They do. They have songs where the bass plays in one time and the drums play in another time, and I mean they're known for doing these kind of odd timed arrangements, and how time in music can be interwoven even if it is in two different time signatures.
Polyrhythms is what they call it. He's doing polyrhythm, and so he starts this thing, and he's just got this like rim shot happening. and he's like with the other hand. It's like super simple, and then suddenly he's like putting in this like extra thing with the other hand, then this extra thing, and then like suddenly he is just working that entire set, like every one of those things. He's just got this thing going, and he is all over this drum kit, just working everything, and it's just building and building and building and building. And when it finally comes back to that main riff, all those fills, every one of those fills just gets better and better and better and better. It's just incredible. And, you know, when you're talking about the time signatures, that kind of leads into some of these reaction videos. I really enjoy watching the reaction videos from like people who really know music, because they're kind of like, okay, let's watch this reaction video from this heavy metal band. And then they start the thing and they're like, oh, holy shit, this guy's doing polyrhythm. Wait a second. No, what is the time? And you see these guys trying to count it off. They're like 3, 4, 5, 6. And it becomes this like math puzzle for these like genius musical people, and that gives you an idea of like what the level that Danny Carey is on.
It's another animal, man. Like, you can see great drummers. You can see Taylor Hawkins and Dave Grohl's and you know, Alex Van Halen's and these guys who are known to be these great, you know, great drummers. And this is another level, man. I mean,
it really is.
Like there are guys like, you know, Mike Portnoy, and that's one of the better reaction videos that was done by Drumeo, and Drumeo is amazing, and I've watched a ton of their stuff.
Right.
And I think he was the ones that said it was a mathematical algorithm or a mathematical equation. And
that video is nuts. Let's just take a quick second to describe folks with this guy, Mike Portnoy. He's the drummer for this band Dream Theater. And, you know, they're like a really like sort of proggy, like metal band, like, but like intense music, you know, like these guys with all kinds of crazy stuff. And this guy did a video where he spent like a day or a day and a half, like in a studio with like a couple of studio technicians working with him just to try to pick this song apart and figure out how to play it. I mean, that's how complex this thing is. And this guy is going like measure by measure and trying to figure out these time signatures and get an idea, and he's recording little bits and playing it back. I mean, absolutely incredible. Like all off of this one drum performance.
And he had the music in front of him.
Right.
You know, and he's literally looking at the music, and he's still having a hard time figuring it out.
And then you put that next to did you watch the one that I said that was like an amazing cover, like some 19-year-old dude in his parents' basement?
Yes.
And instead of like the actual like live timbales, he's got that little like synth pad or whatever where he's like he's doing little things like on this little electronic pad or whatever. And that guy was incredible. And he's like 19. You got Mike Portnoy taking with a team of studio guys trying to figure this song out. 19. Let me see if I can do a cover of this song.
I mean, I don't know if it was, you know, I'm sure that there was a few
not
takes,
as good.
Yeah. You know, a few takes in between there. But it's what it goes to show you is, you know, and I was thinking about how I wanted to frame this conversation, and, you know, it's like, okay, yes, it is one of the most technical pieces of music you can ever go witness. It you know, it's Neil Peart times 10. It's
Danny Carey was friends with. They were like total.
Yeah.
Danny Carey and Neil Peart were total buds.
So, you know, but the other thing is that's so cool about it is how, you know, I don't think that you would ever say that Tool is mainstream. I mean, I think for people that are really into heavy metal and rock, especially of the late 90s and, you know, early 2000s. And I can remember, you know, but, you know, I had friends that were into Tool, and it was always like a one guy that was like super into Tool. And like, you know, I have had my dalliances with Tool, but I would never say that I was like a giant Tool fan. But I mean, I could definitely rattle off a bunch of their songs and go pull up, you know, a number of them and be like, this song's cool. And this song's
Lateralis.
Cool. Yeah,
Fear Inoculum.
I've, you know, and like I've turned my son Connor's really into heavy metal, and so I've turned him on to to a lot of different things, and Tool was in there.
Why can't we just be number? All right,
But
I don't want to derail you,
right.
but we finish your thought, and then we gotta do one more thing with this conversation.
But what I think is so cool is how something like this that is very niche can transcend all of these things. And I think that is a really, really cool thing that, there's so many things that we can look on in our current age and be like, oh man, this is terrible. This is terrible. One thing that is really, really wonderful is the fact that, because of the internet and because of, sites like YouTube, you can have all of these different reactions and see all these different people and how this thing that is so special touches each and every one of them. And I think that is an amazing thing about the time we live in, that we can have this. Because, obviously, you can see the negative reaction videos, but I think across the board, this one, because I did a lot of just organic, rabbit hole, research on this. And, to a point, this 40 million view video has, probably, a couple million reaction views, just to it, of people watching it and giving their experience with it. And that's just a wonderful thing about the internet, man. It's just
it's a perfect segue. Music unites, and the YouTube is an incredible forum for, or giving a platform to that sort of unity amongst people. And that's a perfect segue into what I want to finish the conversation with, which is like the really feel good part of this whole thing, which is the El Estepario. So,
oh yeah,
were you familiar with El Estepario? Well, before I get into that, did you watch the clip of him playing with like the cover band, like with the high school band?
Who, Danny?
With Danny Carey?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
With the jazz band?
No, it was like a high school band, like chicks. It was like girls.
I watched two different things, but yes, very, very good. Yes.
I meant to go and look up like what the backstory was to that, like how he came to be playing with those chicks. I'm just like picturing like I don't know. But it was magic, because it's like these girls knew how to play these Tool songs. Like they knew these songs, like they know how to play, but they're just like a high school chicks in a girl band. And somehow Danny Carey is sitting in with them. So of course he knows the song, and it is so beautiful to watch this man playing with these girls. He has got a big smile on his face, and you can tell he is so flattered that they know these songs like the back of their hand. And not only they know them, but like they got swagger, these chicks, these high school chicks, like in dresses, and he is only too happy to be sitting there playing with them. Oh my God, I loved it so much.
By the way, on a drum kit that is probably 1/4 of his drum kit. Yes. I'm telling you, the girl that was playing bass in that was ridiculous.
Total badass. Like if you read the comments, they were like, "Give that chick a contract, man. She needs to be a pro." All right, but El Estepario. So let me set him up real quickly. Were you familiar with this guy before?
I mean, I've seen a couple of his videos because, I watch drum videos.
Right. So this guy is he's TikTok kind of sensation guy. He's come about like the past couple of years, and he's a Spanish dude. He's got a long beard, and he just does these drum videos in his home. But he is insanely talented, and he's. I think his special magic is two things. Number one, his speed, and then number two, like his stick handling. Like his movement. He's really good at like tossing drumsticks and catching them. He does all kinds of tricks where like he'll put two drumsticks in one hand and he'll be playing two different drums with the two different sticks. He will have sticks tucked down into his pants at the beginning of the song, and like he'll be playing, and then like one of the sticks will disappear and he'll do something with his hand, and then he'll come back and grab the other stick, or grab a second stick. He's just got all kinds of tricks up his sleeve, and he's really fast. Like one of the sort of like little not side channels, but like a little motif of certain videos that he does is like him playing, like somebody will write into him and say, hey, play blah 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 by System of a Down, but only with one hand. And so he'll be like drinking a cup of coffee with his left hand and still playing this entirely badass drum song, like without the use of one of his hands. And by the way, I can also drink coffee while I'm playing this insane song. Like, so ridiculously talented guy. I've loved every single video of this dude's that I've ever watched, and I got a buddy that sends them to me all the time. But might come up in a way later in this podcast. So somehow I was scrolling through LS Tapario stuff, and I see reaction to Danny Carey Pneuma, and I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, it all comes together now. You know what I mean? Like watching LS, because I remember having a thought like a year ago that where I was like, wow, there's a guy out there that might actually give Danny Carey a run for his money. Like in terms of like my interest, because Danny Carey, like after watching the Pneuma thing for a couple of years, you know, he's on the Mount Rushmore or whatever, but then suddenly like this LS Tapario guy like keeps coming into my life, and I'm like, I really like this guy, and he's really talented, he's really like he's got his own thing, and he's great personality and everything. And so I see that there's a reaction video, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a treat. So did you watch LS Tapario's reaction video? All right, what did you think?
I think it was hysterical when he was like, this guy makes me just want to just give away my drum set.
Yes. I was praying that he would have the humility and the respect and recognize the genius of Danny, and boy did he. Oh my God.
It was just like, this is so out of control. But I mean, it's hard. Like again, that's why I say, like, as somebody that's been in bands and, you know, played live music and, you know, knows how absolutely like hard drumming is, it's really hard not to have humility in the face of this thing. I mean, this guy is just, it's another level of musicianship in an instrument that isn't typically so musical, and it really is musical. Right.
Yeah, it's not. He doesn't just play the rhythm. He adds music to the composition. Yes. And what's so great about it is it's so good that people, and this is kind of brings it all back to the beginning. People from all walks of life can watch this thing and appreciate it. People who could give a shit less about heavy metal music or whatever can watch this and be like, God damn. And that's what's so great about watching some of these reaction videos is I watched this one, and it was just like 5 dudes like hanging out, you know, like just like hanging out on their thing. Like these guys were like into hip hop and stuff like that or whatever. And they're like, all right, what's this thing called? Like they didn't even know they barely even knew what they were watching. Oh, time to do another reaction video. And like, you know, 9 minutes later, all 5 of them are sitting there like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like it's the beauty of it. It's like, no matter, like you just cannot help but be like, God damn, this dude, wow. Yeah. So I'm gonna put all of these links in the show notes. So folks who are listening and want to dive down this rabbit hole, I'm going to give you links to all this kind of stuff. We didn't even talk about Rick Beato reacting to LS Tapario. So yeah, lots of good stuff there. Anything else to say about the magic of Danny Carey?
Go watch the video, man. Like, if you have never seen this, go watch it. Watch it 5 times.
Yes, dude.
You can't even really fathom it on the first go. Like you don't get it. It's too much.
Yeah, we don't even need to tell folks to watch it 5 times. Just watch it once. You'll watch it 5 times. Trust me. Just watch it once. You'll watch it 5 times. Like you'll be going back to this well. Yeah, you'll be dipping your toes back into that well.
Say goodbye to an hour once you watch this 11-minute video.
Exactly. And speaking of which, we just said goodbye to 20 minutes on this segment, probably our longest one ever. And I'm about to put in a real long broom wagon. So let's put a cap in it right there, and we will see you in just a few. All right, we are back. It's time for another ride in the Broom Wagon. Justin, what do you got for us?
Okay, so I've come across this guy once or twice before, but I want to throw out somebody that you should be following on Instagram. And if you are into watching streaming, this guy is on Twitch. So the Instagram handle is Ari. What is it? Ari at Insta. Ariat.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Insta. Perfect. So this guy is Ari at home on Twitch, and what Ari does is he's got this setup that is a like keyboard, computer, microphone, rolling beat creation station, and this guy rolls around different cities, mostly New York, and literally grabs people off the street, lets them sing, lets them rap, whatever. He makes the beat. He also raps his ass off himself. But this dude has this amazing Instagram page where you can watch people from all walks of life freestyling on this guy's music live in the streets. It is amazing. I mean, the people that he pulls is crazy, but he also, the big thing that he does, these videos are just a snippet. He streams this whole thing live on Twitch when he does it. And, you know,
it's nuts. I think you didn't quite accurately describe. He's got like a marching band rig, like it's all attached to his body. He can walk around with this. He's got a keyboard that's strapped in front of him that's somehow supported by his own body. He's got a video screen that pops up off this keyboard. He's got something on his wrist, like he's got some sort of phone. Yeah, he's got headphones going on. Like he's got this whole thing, and he's got microphones that he can hand out to the people that are right there on the street with them. And these dudes are like start rapping on his shit. Like it is insane.
He's making the beat right then.
Okay, no, he's making the beat using what they just said into the mic. He's literally pulling samples live and then chopping them up in real time and throwing them back at them, and then they're rapping over their own freaking voice.
There's also, he's got ones where he does them with like people singing R&B and freestyling R&B. It's just, if you are into hip hop, if you're into that type of music, please immediately go watch a few of this guy's videos on Instagram. This is one of the coolest like things that I've seen in hip hop in the longest time. And it is just, you get to see these folks on the street just showing off their talent, and it's amazing. It's just absolutely just the most fun that I've had in a long time on social media.
I love this guy. Guy. He's incredible. And it's what you were saying in our at the end of our last segment. It's like the beauty of technology that you can have a rig like this, that you can walk out on the street with a completely self-contained thing you're all loaded up with batteries. You can walk around and you can literally pull samples live from someone, and 10 seconds later you are playing it back to them and they are rapping over their own voice that has just been sampled. That's incredible.
Well, and he's super musical too. Like they're like the deeper you kind of go into it, sometimes he'll get with somebody and he'll be like, what do you want me to do? And they'll be like, I want this. He'll be like, how does it go? And they'll be like, dum da dum 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 dum, and he'll be like, okay, bet, dum da dum 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 dum, and he just like immediately just takes the thing out of their brain and makes it into music from just them being like dum da dum dum dum, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck is this guy doing this so quickly, so well? And then, like I said, there are times when he doesn't have anybody around and he's just rapping. And there are times when like he'll have an R&B singer and they'll be like throwing out a great hook, and then all of a sudden he's rapping on the beat and then doing the hook with them. It's like,
this.
So
I thought the Danny Carey rabbit hole was deep. I'm going to be spending like the next 3 days with this guy. Me and this guy are going on our honeymoon. starting about 1 hour from now. Me and him are going to be hooking up big time. Oh my God, I can't wait. Wow, what a recommendation.
So, but yes, Ari at home on Twitch, Ari at Insta on Instagram.
It will be in the show notes 100%, and it will be in my phone in a matter of minutes. All right. Thank you for that. And as if this longest episode of Beyond the Slipstream wasn't long enough, settle in, folks. Settle in. All right, you ready? Here we go. I wish you wouldn't have read it in advance, but whatever. Say to any American of a certain age the words professional cycling or Tour de France, and you're likely to hear in short order one thing: Lance Armstrong. Continue the conversation for maybe a minute longer, and invariably you'll hear one more thing: doping. For fans of pro cycling, this is a tedious refrain that we've been hearing from the unknowledgeable masses for decades, and that we grew bored of years ago. We've long since gotten over our blood-boiling annoyance at the general public's need to reduce our beloved sport down to this one ugly facet over and over again. Nonetheless, it persists, because for all of the Kristen Faulkners and Sepp Kuses, and indeed Matteo Jorgensens of the world, the last and perhaps the only American professional cyclist that truly penetrated the mainstream world, initially for his achievements and ultimately for his transgressions, was Armstrong. He was the greatest of all time, and he was a doper. And while Greg LeMond had already given us on 3 occasions the greatest prize in cycling, the Maillot Jaune of the Tour de France, Armstrong gave us something more. For starters, he gave us not only more Tour de France titles, 7 in total to Le Mans 3, 7 consecutive titles, but he also gave us the most titles. We Americans love our superlatives, and Armstrong handed us one of the sporting world's all-time great superlatives: most Tour de France wins in history. But what he really gave us, the thing we truly love most of all, he gave us a story. He wasn't just Lance Armstrong, American Tour de France champion. No, he was Lance Armstrong, 7-time American Tour de France champion and cancer survivor. He didn't just win 7 tours. No, he beat the most deadly disease in the world, and then he won 7 tours. A comeback story for the ages. And we loved him for it. Boy, did we. As I've discussed on this podcast previously, I credit the Armstrong phenomena for launching my love and fandom of professional cycling. I read about him in Outside Magazine, drank the Kool-Aid, started watching the Tour de France on the now defunct OLN network, and the rest was history. We loved Armstrong, and I loved him. He was the man. He announced his mission, and he went out there and he got it. And for a couple of years, he was among the greatest and most high-profile athletes in the world, right up there with Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. He dated a rock star, and he made hundreds of millions of dollars. He started a cancer foundation and raised millions more for charity. He was ubiquitous. He was a true American hero. And then, in just about the same amount of time that it took for him to win his 7 tours, he fell from grace, finally admitting to Oprah Winfrey and to the world that he had used banned substances throughout his career. All 7 of his Tour de France wins were stripped from the record book. He receded into anger and propaganda, and America moved on once the story fell out of the public conversation. However, we learned through this prism that professional cycling was replete with doping controversies throughout its history, and that Armstrong wasn't the first or only great champion that was ever caught using drugs. And we dealt with the issue in other much more beloved American sports. I mean, who could forget Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, a rivalry that captured the American imagination for one magical summer just a year before Armstrong won his first tour? But it seems that when the American subconscious considers professional cycling now, or really any time in the past 10 to 15 years since all of the Armstrong brouhaha finally died down, there remains one thing. Well, 3 things, actually. A tripartite false equivalency. Pro cycling equals Armstrong equals doping. And nothing since then has penetrated. Not Faulkner or Kuss or Jorgensen, not Dygard or McNulty or Simmons or Lebecki, not even Greg LeMond, the real and actual great American hero of cycling, can manage much more penetration than the odd documentary film, cable news appearance, or podcast topic. Wink, wink. It would indeed be a very select few of my countrymen and women who would even know who he is by name. Pro cycling, Armstrong, doping. I honestly don't know why it's just these three things that have managed any permanency in the American conscious as it pertains to top-level professional cycling. As a guy who puts out a weekly cycling podcast, I'm equipped to provide reasons to love, admire, and cherish this sport in the hundreds and hundreds. I could and should write books about the things I love about this sport, things that make it unique and exciting and cool and amazing and badass. There truly is so much to love about this sport, and yet, frustratingly, for the vast majority of people that I encounter in life, professional cycling amounts to just those three things. Pro cycling, Armstrong, doping. I have encountered a phenomenon that other fans of this sport may well have encountered in their own lives, perhaps more than once. On a basic level, it's this. The subject of pro cycling comes up, and someone invariably mentions doping. Usually they don't know of my interest and my love for the sport, and while that is, as I said at the outset, tedious to be sure, it's easily dismissed and forgotten about. But there is a deeper level, a more insidious variation of this annoying phenomenon. There is a tendency amongst certain friends and acquaintances in my life to, on a very regular basis, forward to me news articles, YouTube videos, Instagram reels, TikToks, and the like, containing content about doping and cheating in cycling. Can someone please explain to me what this is about? I mean, forget about the fact of their ignorance to the objective truth that doping and cheating in professional cycling is almost non-existent at this point in time. But what is it that these people seek to gain, prove, highlight by sending me this content? I'm talking about people who know me, who know of my love for this sport. Are they trying to make me feel like the sport I love is illegitimate? That my fandom is somehow illegitimate? Are they saying, Matt, you're a fool because your heroes are cheaters? Are they just trying to make me feel bad or stupid or foolish? Are they jealous because I have passions in my life while their lives are empty and void of passion? And so they need to rain on my parade? Because that's what it is. And I know that these folks would never purposely do something to hurt me, but how do they not see that regularly sending me this type of content is hurtful? Do they think I'll think it's funny? Do they think I'll watch and say, why, that's so interesting. I'm so glad I learned that. If that were the case, then perhaps they'd also send other cycling-related content, other non-doping-related cycling content, but they don't. It's like their algorithm sends them some pro cycling doping content for whatever reason, and they immediately think, pro cycling, Matt Harper, I should send this. Can they not just think one step further and ask themselves, why should I send this? Because at this point in time, there is no fucking reason for you to send it. I don't care. I'm not interested. And if there's an actual doping-related story in the news currently, you can bet I've already processed it. I'm well aware that in the history of cycling, like so many other sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, track and field, judo, high-rise, shuffleboard, table tennis, rock climbing, kayaking, and fucking marbles on the playground, there are many stories of cheating in many, many ways. Great. But I'm into the sport for the sport, not to dwell on unfortunate things that happened in the past. So if you want to discuss doping in cycling or doping in sports or both with me, let's talk. Let's have an intelligent conversation. Let's put it in the context of the larger sport as a whole and in the context of the history and the contemporary world of the sport. But if for some reason you have an inexplicable urge to drop into my life, unannounced and unrequested, to remind me that something I love also has a dark side, and you never drop in to say anything else about it, here's an idea for you. Shut the fuck up. Thoughts?
I mean, I've said my piece on the podcast about, my feeling on doping and Lance Armstrong, and you're right. I think that there's a lot of times that people just send things without a thought of what they're sending. They don't take, this is the now, this kind of speaks to the opposite of the thing that we were talking about multiple times earlier about
exactly.
This is
I had to end on a downer.
This is the part that sucks about the internet, is that for whatever reason it's now become acceptable for us to just shove things that we see at other people. And
Thank you.
Thank you. I for one am pretty prudent. I don't know if that's the right word, but I send things only when I really feel like they need to be shared, and I typically obviously share them individually. And even with my wife, I am picky about what I send, because I feel like when you send anything, it's a direct reflection of you. And if you are sending things out to people without even giving a thought as to what their reaction to that thing would be, then shame on you. Stop sending things to people, because now you're just forwarding junk. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You're not trying to share something with somebody.
Mm-hmm,
you're just trying to put the thing that was in
Yes.
front of you in front of them.
Oh, and it has nothing to do with them. It's you trying to validate yourself to yourself.
Yes.
You don't even realize that it's happening. No, and there's also, in my opinion, there's also like a level of intrusion with that thing. Like, I'm kind of cool if you want to send me Instagram shit in Instagram. I'm so much cooler with that than if you're like sending it to my text. Like when you text me Instagram videos,
Yeah, that's even more purposeful.
Yeah, that it's just like I'm sitting here working on something, and like bam, Instagram video, and it's like you're just laying in your bed scrolling and just like randomly sending me shit. Do you have any idea like what kind of impact you're having on my life right now? Because I'm trying to concentrate on something, and like I keep getting texts from you with just bullshit Instagram stuff. Like I know that is part of my annoyance with this thing, but honestly, there has been a through line in my life, and I don't think you've been a pro cycling fan for long enough to have maybe noticed this sort of thing. It'd be interesting to revisit this 10 years from now. If you're, still a cycling fan, I pray to God.
I don't feel I want to be a cycling fan. I deal with it every day. I honestly, like, I go in, and the two guys at work that are the sales managers, I literally joke around on days when there's big race, like the day after a big race. I'll be like, man, did you guys just see that crazy stage today? Or, like, oh man, I can't believe Pogacar again, and they're like, what? Yeah, it's literally like, they don't even like acknowledge it as being a sport.
But it's not that. It's the fact that with doping in particular, I'm telling you, this has been a through line with multiple different like people in my life over the years that I've known, where it's like they will very purposefully come to me and say something about cycling that has to do with doping. It's like I don't know what it is. It's like, it's almost like the kind of thing that you would get like for being gay or something like that. It's like weird foreign thing that I don't understand. So the only thing, belittle it. I have to belittle it to you because it's threatening to me, because it's weird and foreign and you're so into it and I don't understand it. So let me just like put it down, like,
do you think, do you think that, other people your age that would have been, more aware of that at the time, like, do you think that there maybe is a sense of like, like, fuck you, man, this guy was whatever, and it's their way of like being like, like, fuck that.
I am so glad you mentioned that, because honestly, that essay that I wrote, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it came off sounding pretty good, but like, there's a part of it that's missing that I didn't flesh out enough, which is, and I think you're getting at it. I think that Armstrong came along and like he built us up, and it was like, oh my God, America, like we can do anything. And then it turns out that he was just a fucking cheater, and everybody like subconsciously or just like, fuck that, man. That's fucking lame. Like we thought, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so now they're just like, fuck that. So anytime cycling comes up, it's just like ingrained in their consciousness, like fucking fuck cycling, dopers, motherfuckers,
cheaters.
You know, it's like, it's like a bitterness that just like keeps hanging around or whatever that they can't let go of, you know, and it's, you know,
which is sad because they're missing out on something that's really, really great. And, you know, I wish I had understood it long before I did. And, you know, it'll be one of those things that I always look back and go like, damn, I wish I'd gotten into this sooner.
Yeah, well, coulda, shoulda. You know, I missed big giant swaths of stuff too. But you know, we're here for a pretty good era.
You know what? We're like, you know, it'd be like being a tennis fan and starting your tennis fandom like, you know, 20 years ago and living through the greatest, you know, slew of you know, just dominant, amazing, you know, top tier level tennis for 20 years.
It's funny you mentioned that because I actually got really into pro tennis for like about a 5-year period, like right out of college. It was during the Pete Sampras and Martina Hingis era. And that was right before the Williamses and the Federers and the Nadals and the Djokovic's. I was like, but I was out of it by the time all of them came along.
I had a conversation with someone where I was like, if you're a tennis fan, it was like Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and Arnold Palmer all were like playing at the same time.
right. Well, this is by far the longest episode of the podcast, but damn, I sure did enjoy it tonight. So
look, and if nobody realized it, we actually recorded this you know, for the 2 people that listen, we recorded this podcast at night, which we don't typically do. And we've both been a little bit looser with our ingestibles, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's been fun. Fun. So I'm all about it. We need to mix in an evening sesh on the regular. All right, that is all for this week. Join us next week. Recaps of a variety of bike races happening this week, including the Volta a Catalunya men's stage race, the women's and men's one-day classic Baruga de Pan, the men's E3 Saxo Classic, and the women's and men's one-day classic Ghent Wevelgem. Until then, for my brother Justin, I'm Matt Harper. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us again soon on another ride beyond the slipstream. Ale!
Beyond the Slipstream is a production of Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, smash that button, leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, tell all your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Ale!